The original's episode 17, Moon over Bourbon Street. Now, this episode takes place 1 month after Farewell to Storyville. So far, Rebecca hasn't come back, and of course, I didn't expect her to be back even the very next episode or anything. But during this point in time, and we might have it this way throughout the rest of the season, I'm curious to see just how long she is out of the series for. But, right now she's out, so we have the brothers left out of the originals, of course, Klaus and Elijah. So that's just a recipe for disaster as far as I'm concerned. But in this episode, Elijah's trying to rebuild the city, and he's trying to kind of bring everyone back together after some of the crazy things that have happened. The witches, witches dying off, witches coming back to life and stuff like that. And Marcel is, kind of out of the picture at this point in time because he's, been cast out by Elijah. But Marcel's kind of trying to work in the background and rally everyone who kind of decided, screw this, I don't want to follow anybody if it's not, Marcel. So he's trying to rally those people up in the background and trying to, help Davina through her friend. And, I kind of enjoyed that. He was trying to help her out because he does actually care. That was one of the scenes he kind of proved it. Like, he's not trying to get her to be on his side again. He just wants her to be safe because, he knows things aren't just going to work out right, especially with, the way things went where she talked about her spells not working and stuff. And fortunately, she can use her magic, so when things do go crazy, she'll be at least a little bit more protected, and she can, do that herself. But Marcel's trying to work things out in the background, and he even helped Cammy find a witch who we don't actually get to see in this episode. So I'm curious to see who it is that he found, because the only real experience we had with Marcel interacting with the witch in this episode was actually when he was with Cammy, and the one woman was just spying on them. So I'm curious to see who this witch is that he found to, help him out. So I'm excited to see how that plays out, and why would she help him? And is she new to the city? Is she have some sort of vengeance against the witches in the city, something like that? So I'm excited to see how that's gonna play out throughout the rest of the season. But the main story with Elijah and Klaus kind of throwing this party and them, well, Elijah at least trying to bring everyone together is really interesting because once again, just like Marcel is, Klaus has his own plan. Of course, he always does, and even though things have really been destroyed at this point, he's trying to find some way to work everyone in under him because he wants to have exactly what he came to the city for, which was finding a family that will follow him, not out of fear but out of respect and love. And he thinks he can find that in the wolves because he's finally getting into looking for his true lineage, so, or at least his wolf lineage, which I knew was going to be an aspect. Like, once the cure was introduced, I knew very soon the wolves are instantly going to be a main part of the series, and I'm glad they are because I'm excited to see how this many wolves coming into the show is going to change it, because we've never really had that. We've had like a couple wolves, like the Vampire Diaries and stuff. They've had like a couple here and a couple there, and then a ton of hybrids, but never just the wolves set in their own pack where they actually are able to really take control. Like the wolves in the Vampire Diaries, it was kind of like it was really just like random people kind of sprung together, and in this you can really tell they've been like that for a long time, especially with them having that curse put on them. I think that bonds them even more than it would most other people who are just like, I found out I was a werewolf one day, we can help each other. So they have a much different experience than most people, where instead of turning once a month, they're only human once a month, so any other time they're just together. But they have the cure now, so they're all up and walking around. They want a part of the city like they used to have, and whatever Klaus's plan is does involve them. And he's kind of promised their leader, like, if you guys help me out, you won't ever have to turn. I'll basically get you all of these magic rings so that you never have to turn again if you don't want to. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. Like, I love one of the things they mentioned was Klaus painting is him basically saying, like, when I paint, it's me forcing my will into existence. And I love the picture they show at the end. It's like a part of the city's fine, and then it goes to the right, and then it gets red because it's on fire and it's smoking. And I thought, maybe he wants to basically just burn down the city and start over himself. But since it was that like one portion, maybe that's like where the witches are and stuff, and he's like, I'll take them out because they're really my problem. and then everything else I can kind of take control of because obviously the vampires can't do anything against him. He's an original. The only thing that can happen are the witches will, they can't really kill him, but they could, cause him some pain and actually capture him. So I think he wants to basically burn down their portion of the city, and not maybe not even the city itself. Technically, it's just sort of a symbol because it would be technically their portion, and he wants to take out the witches so that he can have some control. And they didn't show him finish it, but when he was looking at the painting and stuff, I enjoyed the fact that he like added a moon to it because he added the wolves, into his plan because the alpha leader, he decided to accept, his offer, whatever it really was, if he even, told him the whole plan. But I'm excited to see how that plays out and exactly what Klaus is gonna really be trying to do to, sort of usurp Elijah. Although he doesn't have to do much, he could just work with him, and they'd have exactly what they had. In sort of like the flashback episodes where they were completely happy and stuff, but at this point he kind of just wants to be on top and screw screw everybody else. But excited to see how that plays out. Definitely excited for the next episode, even though we have to wait till like April 15th, I think, which really sucks. But it looks like things are going to be even crazier than they were in this episode, which they weren't too crazy. I thought, the preview I saw for the next episode was kind of like the preview I saw for this one originally, where everyone was kind of going nuts in the beginning of the episode, but then it really dies down, and they don't even have the party to like the second half, which I thought was kind of the main point of them all just coming together and kind of celebrating how different things are now. But I'm excited to see how this sort of new council takes place, and the woman who took Kieran's place, I'm really curious about her because she wasn't trying to do anything to help. I mean, she probably knows there was no way to help him, but I feel like the witches could have easily gone to him. Like someone's obviously powerful enough to do it, and maybe she went to the witches to ask, just like Marcel did before, and maybe she didn't. But I wouldn't, based off of her introduction as a character, I would say she didn't because I think she wants power. She's, the matriarch of like a huge drug trafficking ring in the city. She obviously owns a casino. She mentioned how she gave like hundreds of dollars of worth of chips to the wolves and stuff. So I'm curious to see what she expects to get out of this. Like, what is she gonna try to do? Because it seems like she has some sort of plan to basically get rid of all the supernatural beings within the city. Even though at this point she says she's kind of working with Elijah, she's probably gonna try to get rid of, like take out the witches first because, in a sense, the witches are the ones who kind of were like the catalyst for everything kind of shifting back and forth as far as power goes. But get rid of them, and then she'll somehow try to figure out a way to get rid of the wolves and the vampires too, and probably not even the wolves, because the wolves, although they did cause some problems here and there because you can't always control yourself as the wolf, they aren't exactly vampires. They don't have to kill people to survive and stuff. So I'm curious to see just how that plays out. But love the episode, love some of the little things we got. We actually got like the backstory for I can't think of his name, but the one guy, he's basically like the third in command for Marcel, who, you could tell he was an important character because he was always the only other vampire that talked. So now he's kind of like stepped up as sort of the leader of the vampire faction now that Marcel's kind of been cast out. And we learn that the reason he really hates the werewolves is not just because he's a vampire, it's because werewolves, when he was human, actually, they were kind of running out of control and they slaughtered his whole family. And the only reason he even survived that was because Marcel came in and saved his life. So I actually enjoyed that. It was the smallest little thing, but it was like, it's cool to get some development for one of the characters who we really don't know anything about. Like, he's obviously not one of the main characters, but he's like, second tier as far as the character list goes. And he's really the only other vampire that talks outside of, the vampire faction outside of Marcel and the guy who was his second in command, who's, kind of just hiding out right now. But love the episode. So comment below, let me know what you guys thought of it. Favorite parts, least favorite parts, and where do you guys think this sort of conglomerate of all these supernatural beings and human beings are gonna really work out? Because everybody seems like they have their own agenda. Like every single faction is doing their own thing, it seems. So comment below, let me know what you guys think about that, and thanks for watching.